the station where our veterans' voices are heard, MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome to Freedom Chat, where real Americans speak their minds. And no topic is off limits. No scripts, no judgment, just honest conversation, raw, unfiltered, and free. If you're ready to challenge the narrative and celebrate true freedom, you're in the right place. This is Freedom Chat.
All right. I did do some invites. I want to get a couple of things out before we go any further, and I'll let Joel know about this also. On the 25th, which is the Sunday before Memorial Day, I will not be online. I will not be the Freedom Chat. I mean, if Dennis wants to go, if D wants to go solo, that's up to him. But I actually am at Fort Logan National Cemetery honoring our fallen heroes. So I will, of course, be otherwise occupied.
Well, I was kind of open to be there with you, but I don't know about that Sunday yet. Like I had discussed, like I sent you that text about, I might have to be out of town too. So, but that's okay. You know, that gives us 2 weeks to come up with material, right?
And as we have found out, there is no loss of material.
No. Plenty where that came from.
Happy Mother's Day to you and your all mothers. Happy Mother's Day to my mom. I'm hoping she comes on. I did send
Happy
her.
Mother's Day.
If you've lost your mothers, Happy Mother's Day in heaven. I think celebrating our moms is a worldwide observance, and it should be a worldwide observance.
Absolutely.
So happy Mother's Day.
I had actually growing up, I had about 3 or 4 moms. You know, with all my neighborhood, my childhood friends, and you know, their moms kind of became my mom.
Right.
So
I
got 3 or 4. I want to say Happy Mother's Day too.
Nice, very nice. We made a fruit salad drizzled in honey, and I don't know what time my wife's getting out of bed, but my intent is to go to my mom and on the way stop at Culver's and get a couple frozen treats, not like meals, but just something sweet, something to enjoy. You know, thank God I know what she likes.
Right. That's helpful.
Right. All right. Look, let's get into this. This week, Democrat lawmakers, were arrested in New Jersey by ICE and the Department of Homeland Security. The reason they were arrested was because they were very, very openly hostile and were acting very openly hostile in a hostile manner against ICE agents who had collected illegal aliens. The lawmakers were LaMonica McKilver, Bonnie Watson, Coleman, Rob Menendez. They stormed the Delaney Hall Detention Center along with Newark Mayor Ross Baraka. And Baraka was actually arrested for trespassing.
Yep.
One of these representatives assaulted an ICE agent. So let's kind of dig into this. I want to dig into this real simple like. I'm going to read that oath of office for congressmen and senators again. I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. This oath is required by the United States Constitution and is prescribed by law. All members of the House and or Senate that support illegal aliens over United States citizens are in violation of their oath of office and should therefore be removed from office. It is really that simple. So let's go back to the event that happened and who's supporting whom. Uh, AOC came right out and said that it's actually the Department of Homeland Security that has broken the law.
That's a joke.
I would like to know what law they have broken. And before anybody gives me this garbage about the 9-0 voting on by the Supreme Court, it's separation of powers for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Supreme Court can rule things, but if you go to the Constitution and you read that, if you understand the Constitution, which most people don't, it's just not true. He's not beholden to the courts. Here we go. I'll read Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution. I'll read the very first paragraph, and this really kind of puts it in a box. The executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States of America. He shall hold his office during terms of 4 years, and together with the vice president chosen for the same term, be elected as follows. Second one, each state shall appoint. Okay, well, this goes through the process. I'm going to read this real quick. Section 2. Shall be commander-in-chief of the Army, Navy of the United States, and militia of the several states. When called into actual service of the United States, he may require the opinion in writing of the principal officer in each of the executive departments upon any subject relating to the duties of their respective offices. And he shall have power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. He shall have power by and with advice and consent of the Senate to make treaties, provided 2/3 of the senators present concur. He shall nominate and by with the advice and consent of the Senate appoint ambassadors, other public ministers and councils, judges of the Supreme Court, and all other officers of the United States whose, my mom is having technical issues. I'm going to try to help her. So give me a minute. Let's see if I can get her on. Invite. I'm going to try to send her another one. The point that I'm trying to make with this is he's got the authority to do the things that he is doing. Okay, he has the authority to maintain the safety and security of this nation. And I will be really, really honest. He's doing his job. He's not abusing his powers. He's not doing anything that he shouldn't be doing. In fact, when people talk about he's doing all of these things to enrich himself, and he's doing all these things to advance money every year that he has been in the office, okay, his wealth, which is substantial, has gone steadily down. So for those people who say he's breaking the law, and for those people who say that the Department of Homeland Security is acting outside of the law, I say to you, whose side are you on?
You know, Mark, I have to say something. Yesterday, I heard somebody refer to Trump as a blue-collar billionaire, and which makes total sense to me. He doesn't really care about his, any of that wealth and stuff. He genuinely cares about the working class citizens, all the citizens, but the working class,
I couldn't agree more with you. In fact, my daughter, who just got back from Boulder, and I had this conversation about the president and the taxes. And, I'm really working hard to keep her balanced, because she was like, well, he wants to help the wealthy. And I said, if he wants to help the wealthy, why is he trying to eliminate income tax on people who only make a certain amount? That
Right.
is a simple question. If he is, then why?
Right.
Okay. I think it's important to understand that the man is not perfect. Nobody is. That's just a fact of life. Nobody is perfect. The only one that's perfect is we celebrated him a couple of weeks ago. But when we sit and we watch a person who quite literally has tried to do everything he can to be better and to make the country a better place.
Right.
And this is the response that he gets from congressmen, from people who put their hands up and swore an oath to their country. And I read that oath, so nobody can tell me, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I literally just read that oath. Did I read that oath?
Yes, sir.
Okay, since I read that oath, let's talk about a comment from one Hakeem Jeffries. The Trump administration has repeatedly broken the law. Well, what laws have they broken, actually? And skirted court orders. Oh, that's what it was. He basically told the courts that what their rulings do not apply to him. And he's right. The rulings do not apply to this president. Not in the way he's fulfilling his duties. He is fulfilling the promises that he made and the American people voted for. So the courts are basically telling the American people that they know better than us.
Right.
That's a reality. Okay. While deporting American citizens, including children, without the due process protections guaranteed by the Constitution. Okay, for Hakeem Jeffries, and I know Hakeem Jeffries will never jump on this chat, but I would ask him, what laws and what American citizens have been deported?
Yes, that's my
I
question.
want to know. Do you not want to know which? Because if he is deporting American citizens, then he's wrong.
Right.
But he's not deporting American citizens. And as far as those children, their mothers, who the United States has no jurisdictional authority over, have chosen to take their children with them.
Right.
Which is what mothers and fathers do with their kids. You take your kids with you until your kids get old enough to go out on their own.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe it's me. We went on vacation as a family, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you take your kids with you when you go on vacation.
So he carries on with, members of Congress have a constitutional responsibility to serve as a check on the out-of-control policies of the executive branch. Really? Well, you let the three previous Democrat executive branches run just buck wild all over the Constitution of the United States. All of a sudden, this stuff is important? Give me a break.
Last one.
Yeah, give me a break. Okay. Including conducting oversight wherever and whenever it is needed. I thank Reps Bonnie Watson-Coleman, Rob Menendez, and LaMonica McIver for showing up, standing up, and speaking out today in Newark. This is where we're going, and we're going to be jumping off in a second. The concerns of elected officials about this unsanctioned facility will not be silenced by the Trump administration. We will never bend a knee. Masked agents who physically accosted two congresswomen must be identified immediately and be trumped up, and any trumped up charges against Mayor Baraka dropped. The specific
I watched that video. I didn't see any assault.
Yeah. Okay. So, and you know what? Here's the thing, and this is really where it comes down to. For those of you who hate Trump simply for hating Trump, congratulations. For those of you who want to use common sense and follow common sense, this is the bottom line. Whose side are they on?
Right.
That's the question you need to ask yourself. Whose side are they on? Okay, I don't know if I have permission to do this, but if I play a song and I decide that we need to move forward, we're going to do just that. We're going to move forward. We're going to start with the first song, which is about 3 minutes and 47 seconds. But don't be surprised if I cut it short, because Dennis and I are the hosts and we talk about this, and this is what we're going to do. So first song is a song called, oh, good Lord, Red Line by Rich Owen. And we'll be back in about, I don't know, 2-3 minutes.
Give or take.
Next subject will be, holy crap, we got a new pope.
Well,
And now for the most famous words in motorsports. Driver, start your engine!
RVs filling the infield, peddlers holding the cold beers. Just another day out on the roundy-round. Pace car leading the parade lap. Feel the pulse of the horses on tap. Green flag waves stomping that hammer down. Here I go, pushing that red line, right up and cutting to the inside. Stand rushing by with a roar in the blink of an eye. Ain't gonna take it slow. Got 500 miles to go. Living this life one lap at a time. Pushing that red line. Searching for clean air, finding that groove, grabbing the low line and making my move. Crowd on the feet as they feel that tension grow. On my way to the head of the draft, feel the mirror of the leader of the pack. Down to a shootout, one more life to go. Well, here I go, pushing that red line, wide up and cutting to the inside. Stand rushing by with a roar in the blink of an eye. Ain't gonna take it slow. Got 500 miles to go. Living this life one lap at a time. Pushing that red line. Let's push it.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
The web at mbradio.com.
All right, we're back. I don't know whether I'm allowed to do that, and I'm pretty sure if I'm not, I'll be told that I can't.
you'll be hearing from Ricky Bobby.
Probably. But hey, look, there's so much to cover. We only get 15-minute segments. I will ask if we can, make this like an hour and 15 minutes so that we can cover more ground. I really think that that's important to cover these grounds. What we just talked about at the end of the day is there is a internal battle going on in the United States where people who swore an oath to the United States and to fulfill specific duties are failing in that, and they are attacking the man who is actually trying to fulfill those duties. He's trying to fulfill his obligation. Okay, so that's really what this is about. And look, I'm not going to hear any crying about, well, what about the kids? You know what? I'm sorry, but I don't have a lot of empathy for that, because their parents knew that it was illegal to come into this country. And I'm sorry that I'm going back to this one and going to hammer it, but I am going to hammer it, because if you were to do a simple internet search on the penalties that you could incur by illegally entering another nation, that means not going through their processes, not asking for asylum correctly, all of that. The penalties are harsh. We're soft. We are straight up soft. And, you know, Europe is facing a crisis of all kinds of identity crisis because they let people in without properly vetting them. Well, that's what just happened over the past 4 years.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm sorry that people don't like hearing this stuff. I'm sorry that people don't understand that you can't let everybody in. You cannot do that. It is a society drain. It is a values drain. It is an economic drain on the pre-existing people, the people that are already here. So if you want to tack on, tack on.
Not to mention, it's not right that you're cutting in line in front of somebody that's trying to do it the legal way.
Right.
They're trying to do the right thing for them and their family, doing it through legal processes and channels, and then these people just are let in and walk right in front and get to the front of the line.
Right.
That's a bunch of crap.
And you know, just like Dennis said, and Dennis and I have said this and talked about this numerous times. Due process is due process. You can't scream due process when you ignore due process for 4 freaking years.
Right.
That is in a nutshell. You want to talk about, you know, when we read the Pledge of Allegiance, the last statement of it is one nation under God with liberty and justice for all. Well, where's the justice for the people who have been standing in line and waiting to go through the process when other people are basically being given a free pass? Well, we know why they're being given a free pass, because they're going to vote that way if they ever become legally able to vote.
Well, and where's the justice for the people, for the victims of the people that have lost loved ones because of these people coming in illegally?
How about the children who have been smuggled across this border, who have been put into sex trade, who have been put into basically slavery? Hey, there's that horrible word there, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but once again, I do not have a lot of empathy for people who come across this border, and I have no empathy for people who vote that way, knowing that this is what they're going to get, and then wondering when things go to total dog do.
Yeah.
What you know, you get where I'm at, right?
Yeah.
All right. So let's shift to something that is positive. For the first time in the history of the Catholic Church, there is a Pope who is born and bred from the United States. And I'm not saying this because it's the greatest thing ever. But I do acknowledge the historical significance of it. I am not Catholic. I don't believe in organized religion. I see it as a means for a few to overtly or covertly control the many.
All right.
And I believe wholeheartedly that when we read the Bible, Jesus was very much talking about
You there, Mark?
Okay, we're back. I'm sorry. That was my fault.
That was a good freeze frame you did there.
I'll explain later. That was a technical difficulty.
I'm sitting there going, okay, what am I going to
Okay.
say here?
um, I think that there needs to be a degree of spiritual growth, and I mean that for the entire world. I don't agree with really anything that people who believe in Islam believe, because I just there's so much of it that doesn't coincide with my values, and
No, a
that
lot of
isn't
it don't, Mark. A lot of it
right.
doesn't.
Right. But and all, and hey, and the flip side is there's certain things about the Catholic religion that I am dead set against too.
Yep.
I think they all have their flaws because they're all guided by man and women
Right.
in
Right.
certain circles, and when humans are the ones driving the bus, so to speak, and not God, there tends to be crashes.
Yes. Yes.
So what is your opinion on the new Pope, man? I mean, I haven't even read much about. I mean, I know he's from Chicago. So
Well, he likes the White Sox, from what I heard.
that's horrible. I thought he was
Yeah,
a
I
Cubs fan.
know. Nah, he's a White Sox fan apparently,
That's
which surprised me because I figured he'd probably be a Cubs fan.
right.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I saw them interview his younger brother yesterday, I think it was, and from what his younger brother said, I guess he was a pretty good kid his whole life. I mean, there was a couple of times he made mistakes, but according to his younger brother, overall, this guy sounds like he was pretty good boy his whole life, and I don't know, maybe it was meant to be for him. I don't know, but we'll see. I've heard kind of conflicting stories about him that he's kind of more. I've heard that he's kind of woke, and then I've heard that he's not. So I don't know. I guess that remains to be seen.
Right, and well, not to put too fine a point on it, but he is a registered Republican. I don't know if that means anything. It doesn't mean anything to me.
Right.
Once again, that falls into the category. I don't care.
Yeah.
But what I'm hoping for, and we can look to this. What I'm hoping for is that the Pope becomes a strong spiritual leader again.
We need it.
Right, we do. And look, I'm not trying to be. Look, I'm not a Catholic. I got no dog in that fight. I really don't.
Dude, I'm grateful I wasn't a Catholic because I couldn't sit through a 9-hour mass, dude. No way.
Right. But the flip side to that is, I think Pope Francis was trying to be too political, and he was driving too much of a political position.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that this Pope exerts his influence more
Spiritually. Yeah. Me
spiritually.
Too.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
And I think that at the end of the day is what's important, is what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be
enough politics going on.
Right. Now that said, there's going to be politics because you can't avoid it.
Right.
The flip side to that is the Pope should keep that to a minimum. Yeah. All right. Next break is coming right now. Believe it or not, what I'm going to try to do is Let me see here. This is going to be a quick little 1-minute blurb.
Some of us still carry the burden of battle. It threatens to drown us in our everyday lives. In battle, we had our weapons and combat gear to keep us safe, to keep us confident. But when we returned home, we were not armed with weapons and gear to cope with our own minds. I was lucky to find my combat gear, my mental weapon, and it's called Calmago. Calmago is a drug-free device that allows you to achieve calm in less than 3 minutes in moments of anxiety, stress, anger, panic, or insomnia, not with medication, but rather by activating the parasympathetic nervous system through breathing regulation and multisensory stimulation. A recent study has shown that Calmago decreases PTSD and anxiety levels in veterans, helping those who are suffering and having a long-lasting effect. Visit Calmago.com to learn how you can get Calmago through the VA or with a special veterans discount code.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard, MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
The web at nbradio.u.
All right, we are back, and I just put something on there. It says H-Train member at followers. I don't know why I did that, but I did it. And now it's hidden. So.
There you go.
All right, so that
You're
was
welcome,
an ad.
H-Train.
So that was an ad that I just stumbled across. PTS is real, and I will say this about PTS. I agree with a Medal of Honor recipient who says that when you call it a disorder, it really sets a negative connotation. Everybody suffers from traumatic stress in their lives at one point or another.
Definitely.
So and veterans who have, especially those who have seen boots on ground combat, have seen it far worse than the rest of us.
I have a civilian story about that.
Yeah.
I had an F-150. It's a great running truck. It would run for about 20 to 30 minutes, and it would stall on me in traffic. Just wherever I was, it would just crap out on me. And happened to for about a month or so until I got it into the shop, and finally got it fixed. Figured out what it was, and cost me, an arm and a leg, but I got it fixed. But for another month or two after that, I still couldn't help but think, oh my God, after about 30 minutes of driving, this thing's going to crap out on me. And it never did after that. But it took me a long time to get over that.
Right. I mean, and people kind of wig out. I've got PTS with being in a passenger seat of a car. I have to sit in the back of a vehicle, and 9 times out of 10, my eyes are closed. And that's because I can't handle, literally, I cannot handle being not behind the wheel. That's been a phobia / traumatic stress of a couple of events that I've gone through in a car. So it happens to everybody, man. So, but to our veteran brothers, what I just played, check it out, man. If it works, it works. And if it's something that really can do something to help people out that go through this and can't handle it, can't handle the stressors of life all the time, then I really do think that it's good. So there was no song there, but that's fine too.
That's cool.
All right. So The View. Let's go ahead and start this one off.
Oh my goodness.
The View had Joe Biden and Jill Biden, and they asked the president about his cognitive decline.
Right.
And he proceeded to prove that he is still, in fact, in decline.
Oh yeah.
They left that poor man hung out to dry for about 3 or 4 minutes before his wife came to the rescue.
Yeah, she stepped right in, didn't she?
And here's the thing. What they did to that guy, and I'm not a fan. Y'all know I'm not a fan in any way. I do not have any love for President Joe Biden. I believe that President Joe Biden and his cabinet and his appointees are traitors to this country. They intentionally opened up a border, allowing millions of people to just come in, and then they amplified it by actually flying people in on taxpayer dimes. So
Yep.
I got no love for the man, period. That said, she is not a good wife. The mere fact that she agreed to, why can't they just let him fade into the background? I mean, really, he has no business anywhere near the public eye.
No.
He just doesn't. And I'm sure that people are not going to agree with me, and I'm sure that people are going to be like, "Oh, that's not true." No, it is true, and this has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. This has got everything to do with the man had his finger on the nuclear football.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that for 4 years, that's what he had, and the mere fact that the mainstream media gave that man a free pass for 4 years. They covered for him 4 years. And the people in his cabinet covered for him for 4 years. There is no way. That man should have invoked the 12th Amendment, which is the amendment that can remove a president or the president can step down. That's the amendment that makes that happen. And the mere fact that we should have had that conversation, we should have. The fact that they didn't is a disservice to every American citizen. Every American citizen.
Well, they didn't, because if they did, then they would have been admitting that they were wrong. He was the wrong man to be in office.
But they were wrong, right?
Yes, they were, but they didn't want to admit that.
You
And you know what? I used the word president in front of his name very loosely and with quotes, because he was not the president. He was not in charge. He was president in status maybe, but that was about it.
Right. Now, I'll talk a little bit about that. I'm a firm believer that if you're the one that put your hand up and you accepted that responsibility, that's your glass house.
Yep.
You chose to be there. That's here nor there. It's on you. It's on the person who said the oath. President Trump, it's on him.
Yep.
He campaigned. He ran. He said the oath. He took on the responsibility. It's on him. It was on Biden, and it's a travesty that it was done in a way that was so inherently wrong that, I mean, I'm still flabbergasted. The last 4 years of our lives, we had to endure that. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about that.
It was all based off of dishonesty.
Oh, yeah, because it was dishonest.
Everything about it. Every single thing about it was dishonest.
It's funny you say that, because I was at work this week, and I had a good conversation with a couple of coworkers who are lefties.
Oh boy.
Oh man. Well, first, one of them tried to pull a gotcha on me about President Trump signing his autograph on the stripe of a white stripe of an American flag, and I had to explain to that person that no, that is an American flag. You're correct, and yes, he did sign his name on it, but that flag was purchased by a supporter of his, and that person took that property that is their property and asked the president to sign it. There is no law anywhere that talks about the defacing of an American flag in that identifies that as defacing an American flag. Now, if you were to say F America or Death to America, that kind of gets a little tight, a little weird. But
yeah,
First Amendment protects us from people that don't get it. And burning the flag, I have said this a million times and I'll say it again. If you want to go out there and buy a flag and burn that flag, more power to you. The First Amendment protects you and allows you to do that. That also goes for any pride flag that sits out there, a BLM flag. If I go out and I buy one and I want to burn it, that is on me. If I want to go out and burn a gay pride flag or a trans gay BLM, whatever the hell that funky flag is, that is on me to burn.
Yep.
I made the purchase and I'm burning it. And it's not based out of hate. I don't agree with them. I'm not on that. I don't care. If you're gay, I don't care. If you're lesbian, I don't care. It's a free country. You're American. You live your life.
Right.
But in that conversation, going back to the conversation, one of my friends said, some people just can't handle the truth. And I said, yeah, but you're getting it wrong. I said, you're getting it wrong. People get emotionally attached to what they perceive as the truth. And you and I talked about this last week. The truth is not emotional. The truth does not have a opinion one way or another. The truth is simply the truth. Okay, there is no such thing as your truth and my truth. It's how we feel about that truth that gets all mixed up and all screwed up. And I explained that to them very succinctly. And what I told them is
facts go along right there with it.
Right, because once again, facts are the truth. Now, how do you work through that? I have no idea. What I can tell you is what I said about that and what I believe wholeheartedly, because we have this podcast, we are doing this podcast, and I am begging people that are left-leaning, come on here and express your views in a legitimate manner, and maybe we can figure out a way to come together. Now, that said, I know people who believe wholeheartedly that we are so far apart that there's no way we can come together. I'm an optimist. I believe we can come together. I believe it's going to take a lot of work.
A lot of work.
And it's going to take a lot of people on both sides of the proverbial fence to admit that they were wrong about this or wrong about that. And that includes us.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. I readily admit when I don't agree with what a person that I normally agree with does or says. And I admit when I am wrong more times than not. But when I hear a coworker, and this was another coworker, start spewing the garbage that has been spewed by the mainstream media since Trump took office, he's going to kill Social Security. And it does go back to Trump. People don't want to. I'm tired of talking about Trump. Well, you know what? Too bad. Because it always is going to come back to him because the mainstream media has created such a hostile, toxic environment around him that people who support him spend 90% of the time, instead of living our lives and living the American dream, we're stuck having to defend a man whose only sin, outside of his own personal sins, was saying that the country is in decline and it needs to be built back up.
Right.
Well, he wasn't wrong.
Nope.
I served under that. He was not wrong. So, for those of you who believe he's going to kill Medicare and kill Social Security and he's going to take this away and take that away, you need to go back and do your own damn research. Go to YouTube and look up, what did Trump say about taxes? What did Trump say about Social Security? What did Trump... Just run a damn search on your own. And if you can find anything that shows that he said anything to the contrary, send it to me via private message. Because I'll check it out. I'll straight up check it out.
I'm sick to death of hearing about that. Like, they keep bringing it up, and it's like he's never said any of that.
Nope, he's never said any of that. All right, our commercial break is coming up. We're going to get it started now. I believe it's called Beautiful Frames. It is another ad. And then we're going to talk about your favorite and my favorite, Ms. Crockett.
Sweet.
Here we go.
Interesting.
All right, we are back. I didn't do the intro, the bumper, but that's okay.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I mean, I was busy looking up the Jasmine Crockett stuff. All right, so let's dig right into this. So she accused people on the right of being inherently violent. That's what she said. She came right out. She said that. And the
I know I am.
She the way she said it was in her typical pretending to be the most what's the word I'm looking for, man?
Was she in the hood rat mode?
Yeah, she was in complete hood. Baby. I mean, just I'm sitting here and I am literally thinking to myself, when I hear that person talk, that person is serving this country. And
ain't nobody got no time for that.
I'm telling you, it is insane that she has a platform.
It's very insane, yeah.
All right, let's dig into. I tend to look at what people do as opposed to what they say. People who go to a Charlie Kirk event that are left-leaning are insulting. They are inherently violent. They will call people names. They will tell them to get the F off of their campus. What we've been watching in Washington with the university's autonomous zone, hey, people, those are leftists. Those are leftists. Those are not right-leaning individuals. And they are violent, and they are dangerous, and it doesn't matter how Jasmine Crockett tries to spin it. It does not matter, because I can tell you for a fact, I personally have never in any way, shape, or form wanted to act violently against another person based on their political or ideological views.
Right.
But that side of the fence, right? And look, Officer Tatum, I'm sure everybody's heard of Officer Tatum. He's a conservative black man, and he said the same thing. It is unbelievable how dumb this woman is, number one. I mean, I don't know what her IQ is, but seriously, how stupid do you have to be to say these things when your side of the fence is the origination of the KKK, which was an inherently violent organization against blacks and people who supported blacks? That was a Democrat-sponsored organization.
It was.
The neo-Nazis. Everybody goes, oh, the neo-Nazis, the fascists. Shut up. because people like that do not fit in our society. They're on the fringe of our society. And look, there are right-leaning organizations, but they are squashed.
You know what's sad to me is like these people of color, these Democrats are ultimately trying to hold these people of color down, and these people of color who keep voting Democrat don't see it.
Right. And well, once again, they probably do see it. All right. I'm going to be honest with you. They probably do. But here's the thing. Once again, you and I have talked about this. People don't like to admit when they're wrong.
So
Nobody likes to admit when they made a mistake.
So that makes them insane then.
Well,
they're doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result.
Right. It's because pride, which is one of the worst sins that you can have, is to be prideful, right?
Yes.
And I don't want people to think that it's okay to be proud of what you do and proud of who you are. I'm proud of who I am. I am not ashamed of being a white person.
You're proud of your family. You're proud of your daughter. You're proud of your wife.
Proud
you're
of where
of your mom.
From. Right.
You're proud of where you come from. Yeah, we all are.
The challenge we run into is you can have black pride and everybody looks and says, lifts that up. But if you have white pride, you must be racist against everything else.
Right.
That's not true.
No.
I'm proud that I'm a good human being that does the right thing for my people, for people in general, let alone in everyday life. I take a coworker to and from work. I do it every single morning. I don't have to, but I do. I don't ask for money. She's paid me as compensation, but I've never asked for it because that's what a decent person does, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter whether she's white or whether she's black or whether it doesn't matter. None of that matters. None of that has ever mattered to me in any way, shape, or form. So, of course, when I see people like that behave like that, like Jasmine Crockett, never mind the fact, like, okay, we know how dumb she is. How dumb do her constituents have to be? Why? Are you not embarrassed by this woman?
It's scary to me.
I mean, she is in a position where she can vote on very important decisions, on very important topics. I don't know how many committees she's in. I don't even care. But for the love of Pete, there's something inherently wrong when you're being told that one side is inherently violent because look at what they were a part of. No, they're number one, let's get your facts straight. The KKK was formed by a bunch of Democrat white boys.
Yep.
And
well, who didn't like the fact that slavery was being abolished?
Right. Which it should have been abolished.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just blows my mind that is where we are. We are in the year 2025, and we still have people like that who are talking like that are creating environments that are inherently hostile to other people.
Well, she might as well just come out and say, don't trust white people. You can now if they're off white, that's okay.
Right.
Off white is okay, but not white. Just off white.
Well, what am I?
Well, right. I'm Heinz 57. I got a little bit of everything in me. So what am I supposed to do?
And I think it comes from the fact that we come from an environment that we all hung out. I had black friends. One of my best friends when I was growing up was a black kid, trumpet player. You know, some of my best friends on my ships were black.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my best friend at work is Mexican. In fact, you know him, Adolf Trujillo.
Yeah.
Jeff Trujillo's older brother.
Yep.
So people like us don't look at race the same way other people look at race.
Right.
And it's sad. It truly is sad because it's inherently not necessary.
And it's gotten way worse than since we were in high school, dude.
It has. And the reason it has is because people like Jasmine Crockett have created these environments by their rhetoric. I mean, and look, it's not just her that does it. Al Sharpton does it.
Oh,
The women on The View does it. Ann Navarro on CNN. She is one of the nastiest race baiters.
Oh my God. The dude, Hakeem Jeffries, same way.
Right. And the sad part is these are people that are in the public eye all the time.
Yes.
You and I, if we could bark the same, hey, if we had the same platform and the same audience, the same size of audience that they had, maybe we could counter it. Because it needs to be countered and it needs to be fought. So
why isn't somebody stepping up and doing that then?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with fear. I'm not afraid. Hey, look, if we want to go, then let's go. I have my shirt. Don't tread on me. It is a patriotic shirt. I believe that patriots are patriots, and that is the way it is. Doesn't matter what the color of your skin is. Doesn't matter where you come from. If you love your country, and it doesn't matter if it's the United States or if you're an Italian and you love Italy, I'm all for that. Same with anywhere in the world. If you love where you come from, I support it. I exalt it, and I want more of it. But I don't know. I am from the United States of America. I was born here. I was raised here. I defended my country, and I love my country. I don't call me. I mean, Jesus. I mean, seriously, you can call me idealistic if you want. I don't care. There's something to be said for loving your country. There is something to be said for, our country is not perfect, and our country has made a ton of mistakes along the way. Newsflash. So is every other nation in the world. Every other nation has made mistakes.
And we will continue to make mistakes.
Absolutely. But that doesn't mean you don't love it any less.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that you look at people on the other side of the aisle and say that they must be removed or they must be eradicated or, they're inherently violent. Let me tell you all something about the violence. You don't have to like this as a matter of truth. But I sat and guarded a veterans memorial in downtown Denver on day 3 of the St. George Floyd riots. I got tear gassed. I got shot with a pepper ball gun. And these leftist communists were painting hammer and sickles on the walls that were dedicated to the very people that I serve with and I still serve with. So don't tell me that the people on the right are the ones that are violent, because the people on the right weren't the ones throwing bricks at cops. They weren't the ones destroying businesses. They weren't the ones burning businesses and beating people to death, which happened during that summer by people from the left. It was leftists who treated and acted violently, not the other way around. And if you bring up, and I'm not going to bring it up, but I'm going to say, if you claim that something else that happened is the same, it's not. It's absolutely not.
No.
And I'm not even going to bring it up because we brought it up a couple of times. It's like beating a damn dead horse.
I know what you're talking about, too.
Yes. Exactly. We don't need to bring it up. What I can say is what people think is real and what people think is a fantasy is sometimes one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
One and the same.
Yep.
All right. It is that time. We are at 0 hour. We're going to cut this out.
Good show, brother.
Enjoy your Mother's Day. I think this was really good. I want to get more people on. I'm begging people to come on. I'm begging people who have different views to come on. We cannot advance as a people. Worldwide, not just this country, everywhere. We cannot advance as a people if we don't come together and have hard conversations. And everything.
Let's hope this new pope can. Let's hope this new pope can bring some new light to everyone.
And look, let's hope that the world leaders start figuring out how to come together. Let's pray for Putin and Zelensky to actually find a way to have peace. Let's pray
Amen.
for India and Pakistan to not hurt and kill each other. Let's pray for those white South Africans who are seeking true asylum, by the way, from South Africa.
Yep.
Let's pray that human beings can stop looking at things from a negative stance and start looking at things from, we're all on this. I don't even want to quote because I don't have it directly in front of me, but I'll paraphrase John F. Kennedy. We all inhabit this world. We all breathe the same air. We all care for our children's future, and we are all mortal. And I kind of want to close it with that one right there.
Amen.
All right. God bless you all. God bless the United States of America, and we will see you in 1 week.
Godspeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.